Asked and answered.
Sustained.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you may be excused.
Permission to retrieve evidence.
You entered the birthday card, but I do not have one.
Sorry, Your Honor, it's because we have the actual copy. It's over there. Thank you very much.
And Your Honor, whenever you're ready, the plaintiff calls Austin Perez to the stand.
I'm going to call your witness. You need to set up any demonstratives.
No, Your Honor.
You may begin.
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
Howdy.
Please introduce yourself to the jury.
My name is Austin Perez.
Ms. Perez, what do you do for a living?
I'm the editor-in-chief over at TVD Magazine.
How did you get into editing in the first place?
Well, I've always loved writing. I used to write screenplays. Went out to LA to try to make it big and get my name up in lights. It didn't go too well. I got a few rejections and ended up waiting tables. But eventually my friend convinced me to enter into a writing competition, and I got somewhat of a big break over at TVD.
So how did you end up as the editor-in-chief of TVD?
Well, when Miss Shaw came in, she promoted me.
You were at the company a long time before Ms. Shaw. Do you know what changes she made when she came in?
Oh, Miss Shaw came in guns a-blazing and made this big speech about how she wanted out with the old and in with the new. Then afterwards she had this meeting where she fired a whole bunch of people. And, well, I noticed she fired a whole bunch of the older writers.
This was Ms. Shaw's first day at the company. How did he decide who to fire?
Well, we tried to give a couple of samples of the writers' articles, but really only looked at them for maybe 20 to 30 seconds. Then started asking about things like where they went to school, and I found out that really they were interested in finding out their graduation year and their years of employment. Asked for this information in order of seniority.
Ms. Perez, after Mr. Shaw asked for this information in the order of seniority, how long did he take to make a decision on each employee?
He took about 2 to 3 minutes.
I want to move on to Riley Winter. Do you know who he is?
Riley was a writer over at TVD. Well, until Mr. Shaw canned him.
Earlier in Mr. Hailu's statements, he said that Riley wasn't able to be proactive in this environment. As the editor-in-chief at TVD, was he able to make those adaptations?
Oh, absolutely. You know, a lot of the writers had a difficult time adapting, but Mr. Winter, after Mr. Shaw told him what he wanted, Mr. Winter was able to make those shorter articles, lighter, fluffier. Yeah, he was able to adapt.
Ms. Perez, how did you evaluate those transitions?
Oh, we had performance evaluations every year.
How did the performance evaluations work?
Well, the HR director, Sky Martin, is actually the one that conducts them, but since I was Riley's editor, Sky asked me for my input. And you know, Sky did an okay job, but I thought that he really overstated some of my criticisms of Riley and really understated all my praise.
I want to talk about the reason that we're all here, the day that Riley Winter got fired. Do you remember that day?
Oh, yeah, no, that was the day of the Christmas party, and, you know, everyone was getting ready to go home for the holidays. It's supposed to be a real happy time at the office, but, well, then Mr. Shaw told me that I had to be the one to fire Riley Winter. And you know, this made me really uncomfortable, and I didn't agree with the decision at all. After that, I was really in no mood to party.
How did you find out that you were going to have to let Riley Winter go?
Mr. Shaw came into my office and handed me the letter I was supposed to give to Riley. You know, I expressed my disagreement and said, you know, I'm the editor-in-chief. I've got some say in my staff. And, well, then Sawyer Shaw just said it wasn't open for discussion.
Now, did the conversation end there?
No, then Mr. Shaw just started rattling off a whole bunch of excuses as to why Riley was getting fired.
What was the first excuse he gave as to why he fired Riley?
First, Mr. Shaw said it was because of his web shares.
And how did you respond to that?
Well, I said Mr. Winter was gathering just as many eyes as about any of the other writers.
Now, after you told Mr. Shaw that Riley was getting just as many eyes as the other writers, what excuse did he give you?
Then he told me it was because of the turntable article.
How did you respond to that?
Well, I said I was the one that approved the turntable article, so if anybody was going to be to blame for that, it'd be me.
After you told him why you should be blamed over Riley, what excuse did he give you finally?
Then he said it was because of the number of articles that Mr. Winter was putting out.
And how did you respond to that?
I said there were other writers on the staff who were putting out even less articles per week than Riley was.
Now, after giving 3 excuses as to why he fired Riley, and you giving 3 explanations, what did Mr. Shaw say?
Well, then Mr. Shaw looked me in the eyes and said, I should have fired Riley back when I canned all the other writers from his generation.
No further questions at this time.
Cross your honor.
Cross-examination.
So let's talk about a couple of the changes that you mentioned on Direct. After Shaw took over, the company became a lot more profitable, didn't it?
Well, yeah.
And then it became a solely digital publication?
Yeah.
Okay, and specifically about Riley Winter, he strongly disagreed with Shaw's vision, didn't he?
You know, Shaw came in and changed things up, and Riley had a way that worked for him, but a lot of times he disagreed with Shaw's new vision.
So yeah, he strongly disagreed with Sawyer Shaw.
Yeah.
And in fact, he was publicly outspoken and critical about TBD's new vision.
Objection, this question calls for hearsay.
Your Honor, I'm just asking the witness on her rationally based perspective to state what she saw Mr. Winter doing in the office.
Your Honor, this is not based on a rational perception. This is asking for statements by Riley Winter.
Your Honor, I'm asking for no statements. Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Winter was outspokenly critical and against TBD's new vision, wasn't he?
Yeah, like I said, Mr. Winter had something that worked for him, and Shaw wanted to change that up, so he didn't really agree with that.
Yeah, he didn't agree with that at all. In fact, he made no attempt to gear his writing style towards TBD's new direction, did he?
Mr. Winter definitely made some attempts to adapt to change.
Is it your testimony that Mr. Winter tried to change his writing style?
Mr. Winter wanted me to, emailed me asking if he could attend a social media seminar.
That wasn't my question. I'm asking about Winter's writing style. Did he or did he not attempt to change it in order to gear it towards TBD's new vision?
He attempted to change his writing style.
Right, he did attempt to change his writing style.
Yes.
So he didn't try to make any of his articles shorter like TBD wanted.
His articles were shorter in the end.
Do you remember giving us one statement in this case?
Mr. Winter's articles were shorter in the end.
Okay, but in the beginning, he didn't attempt to make them shorter, did he?
Well, he clashed a little bit with Sawyer Shaw.
In fact, he continued, you said yourself that he couldn't reach out to his target demographic, correct?
Yeah, he struggled with that in the beginning.
Right. In fact, you said it in one of the articles that you two were collaborating on, right?
in one of our
The top 10 tweet article, you said that Winter was not able to reach the target demographic.
Oh yeah.
And that was actually one of the last articles that Winter worked on before he was fired.
Yeah, it was one of the last articles.
Right, so not just the beginning. Winter continued to struggle to reach out to his target demographic the entire time he was working at TBD, correct?
I wouldn't say the entire time.
Right, so the last article that he worked on at TBD,
That was that article, he was struggling a little bit on that one, but I wouldn't say that that's a constant throughout his entire time at TBD.
okay. And then instead of trying to argue with Winter on that article, you just reassigned it to someone else, didn't you?
That one, I thought I kind of missed the mark a little bit on, and I just kind of gave it to another writer, but overall, I think he was doing a great job.
Okay, no further questions, Your Honor.
Redirect,
No redirect, Your Honor, and we ask that Ms. Perez be allowed to step down from the stand.
step down.